The internet is full of videos, millions uploaded every day. But buried among the noise are a few that don't just entertain, they disturb. They linger. They leave scars. These aren't simple jump scares or cheap tricks. These are videos that feel cursed, wrong, and all too real. Tonight, we're stepping into the shadows of YouTube, where smiles hide menace, where ordinary footage twists into nightmares, and where even the safest spaces, your home, your reflection, your dinner table, turn against you. These are not the kind of videos you forget once the screen goes dark. In fact, some of them won't let you forget at all. Here are the top 5 creepiest videos ever found on YouTube.
W dzisiejszym odcinku dowiecie się, jak skuteczniej.
It looks absurd at first. A man with crude paper eyes taped to his face, speaking directly into the camera. He smiles, but not with his eyes. Because his real eyes are hidden, replaced with drawings. This is Poradnik Uśmiechu 1, Jak skuteczny jabłko, or How to Effectively Apple. But nothing about this video feels effective or safe. The man begins his so-called tutorial in Polish, holding an apple. His words stumble and drag, the delivery stilted and wrong, as if he's reading from a script he doesn't understand. Each pause is a little too long, each smile a little too wide. And then you notice the room. Bare walls, harsh lighting, the kind of place where nothing warm could exist. He lifts the apple, demonstrating how to eat it. Simple, harmless. But the longer you watch, the stranger it becomes. The eye stickers never blink, never look away. His voice wavers between cheerfulness and something hollow, like he's forcing himself to sound normal. The video quality glitches, cuts arriving too abruptly, as though pieces were removed. You can't help but feel like you're seeing only fragments of something much worse. Asterisk. By the end, the tutorial dissolves into nonsense. His instructions lose meaning, becoming repetitions and broken phrases. The apple isn't the focus anymore, the man is. Or whatever is inside the man. The longer you stare at those fake paper eyes, the more you realize they're not hiding his identity. They're mocking yours. When the screen finally fades, you're left with the same question many viewers had: what exactly did we just watch? A parody? A breakdown? Or a message disguised as nonsense? That's what makes Poradnik Uśmiechu so disturbing, because it feels less like a comedy sketch and more like a recording that was never meant for us. It begins harmlessly enough. A quiet scene in nature. A bear wanders into frame, sniffing the air, moving without urgency. You think you're about to watch a dull, unedited clip of wildlife. But within seconds, the lie is exposed. The bear fades away, the calm is shattered, and the descent begins. The screen cuts abruptly to something that feels out of place, a cheerful pharmaceutical commercial. Pastel colors. A mother watering plants. Children laughing in slow motion. A soothing voice offers relief from sinus pain. It's familiar, harmless, safe. But then, something about the tone begins to twist. The promises don't sound like suggestions anymore. They sound like commands, like orders whispered through smiling teeth. The music grows uneasy. The commercial refuses to end. And then we meet her, the woman. She looks normal at first, but we begin to see the cracks. She stares too long at her reflection, as though something is staring back. She follows herself outside, then chases herself down suburban streets. And what should be a simple ad for medicine turns into a horrifying loop of doppelgangers, copies, and reflections that won't stop multiplying. The woman is consumed, her home overtaken, her identity erased by her own shadow. Every attempt to escape only feeds the cycle, and the ad plays on as if nothing is wrong. There's no resolution, no escape, no mercy. The video never wanted to sell you medicine, it wanted to sell you control. And that's why unedited footage of a bear is remembered as one of the most disturbing pieces of content ever uploaded. It tricks you into watching, then traps you in its nightmare. Even after you click away, it lingers. Not just on your screen, but in your head. There are videos that shock, and there are videos that linger. Henry Eats by Ben Will does both. At first, it looks like harmless surreal animation, strange characters in a strange world. But the deeper you watch, the more it feels like something that shouldn't exist at all. This isn't just a cartoon. It's a nightmare dressed in pastel colors. We meet Henry, an awkward, almost childlike figure. His body is distorted, his face crude, his movements jerky and unnatural. He's hungry. And in his world, hunger means violence. Henry begins devouring food in grotesque, exaggerated ways. What should be a simple act of eating turns into something monstrous. Jaws opening too wide, chewing that lasts too long, sounds that burrow under your skin. Around him, other figures exist, but they don't feel alive. They feel trapped, like echoes. Their faces barely move, their expressions vacant, as though they've already given in to whatever force drives Henry's hunger. The animation style exaggerates every wrong detail. Limbs that bend unnaturally, eyes that never quite focus, laughter that sounds more like crying. As Henry keeps eating, the food no longer looks like food. It looks like flesh, like body parts, like pieces of something that should never be consumed. And Henry doesn't stop. He can't stop. His hunger grows, twisting him into something less than human, more than monster. By the end, you're not sure what you've witnessed, an animation, a grotesque parody, or an artist's attempt to show pure madness through images. That's why Henry Eats unsettles so deeply, because it pushes beyond shock value. It feels like watching appetite become obsession, and obsession become doom. And even when the video ends, the sound of Henry chewing doesn't leave your mind. Some videos don't need blood or monsters to terrify you. All they need is one image and repetition. Dining room or there is nothing is only 1 minute long. But it's a minute that feels endless, a loop that traps you the longer you stare. It begins with a girl at a table, softly speaking. But within seconds, you realize something is very, very wrong. The girl sits in an empty dining room. Her face is calm, her words quiet. There is nothing. She repeats the line again and again. Each loop resets the scene, but it doesn't feel like a reset. It feels like a glitch. The video is designed so that when it ends, it begins seamlessly again. The sound carries over, the cadence of her voice matching perfectly, so much so that you lose track of where it started. Her tone never changes. Her expression never breaks. But as the loop continues, the phrase "there is nothing" starts to rot in your ears. It stops sounding like words and starts sounding like a curse. The empty room behind her feels heavier with each cycle, like something invisible is closing in. You start to wonder, how long have you been watching? 1 minute? 2? 5? The video never tells you when to stop. By the time you look away, it's already too late. The loop is imprinted in your mind, the phrase echoing over and over. There is nothing, there is nothing, there is nothing. That's the brilliance, and the horror, of David Earl's Dining Room or There Is Nothing. It doesn't need gore or jump scares. Its terror lies in the trap it sets, a hypnotic cycle designed to consume your sense of time. And long after the screen goes black, the girl's words linger, whispering, repeating, until you start to believe them. It begins with the promise of something harmless, a simple house tour. The title reads My House Walkthrough, uploaded by the mysterious creator Nana825763. But as the video plays, you realize quickly, this is no ordinary home, and this is no ordinary walkthrough. This is a descent into a place where logic breaks, where rooms breathe, and where the house itself feels alive. The footage starts like an amateur video game recording. Flat graphics. Stark, quiet hallways. Doors open one by one, leading into empty rooms. At first, it's almost boring, the way someone might document their digital creation. But the silence grows heavy, and the emptiness begins to suffocate. The deeper the walkthrough goes, the stranger it becomes. Rooms don't connect logically. Hallways loop back on themselves, staircases lead nowhere, doors open into impossible spaces. Objects appear where they shouldn't. A chair in the center of an empty room. A faint sound with no source. The house feels wrong, like it's been abandoned for decades, yet still remembers the people who lived there. And then the images shift. Shadows crawl where they shouldn't. Shapes flicker at the edges of the screen. The player's view lingers on details too long, as if they're being forced to look. The house stops being a setting, and starts being a trap. By the end, the walkthrough collapses into pure dread. Glitches, distortions, and flashes of disturbing imagery break the illusion of safety. The house feels endless, like you've been wandering for hours in its hallways, yet there's never an exit. That's why My House Walkthrough remains one of the most terrifying videos on YouTube. It doesn't rely on monsters jumping out of the dark. Instead, it traps you in a digital nightmare, one where the walls close in, the air grows colder, and the silence itself begins to scream. Once you've entered this house, you never truly leave. And that was the list. 5 videos that prove YouTube isn't just a library of harmless clips, it's a labyrinth. A place where the bizarre and the terrifying slip in unnoticed, waiting for someone curious enough, or foolish enough, to click. Maybe you've seen these before. Maybe this was your first time hearing of them. But remember this, once you've heard their names, once you've glimpsed their images, they stay with you. So tonight, when the lights are out, when your room grows quiet, and when you catch yourself staring a little too long at the blank screen in front of you, just know, somewhere, one of these videos might be staring back. Sleep well if you can.